Alright, so for those of you just tuning in, I'm about to spectate a 3v3 on the map MegaRandom between my higher rated viewers, which is of course part of my weekly Age of Empires 2 Twitch TV live stream. If you want to get in on this, you can find my live streaming schedule on my Twitch page by going there and scrolling underneath the video player. Yes, hello Tiffany, it has been a while, and thank you Bulk McLargehuge for the resub. Alright, without further ado, let's jump straight into the game and see how this one goes. Yeah, we'll just have them all random civs. Sounds good to me. Maybe spectating this to mix things up a little bit. Something a little bit different than the King of the Hill free-for-alls, 1v1s and whatnot that we've seen recently. Ulysses asks, does it make a difference to you if my ad block is on? Yes. Most people use ad block. Alright, and it looks like, well, of course, with MegaRandom, anything is possible, and today we have a Nomad-style start. I forget who in the lobby wanted to play Nomad originally, but wish granted. This is a very, very bizarre-looking map. Sort of reminds me of Coastal in a way, in that there's actually some water in the middle. Sometimes Coastal does, but it's certainly not dockable, and there's a lot of water along the edges of the map. It's really, really interesting. If you look at the minimap, it sort of looks like it's Acropolis, but it's not really. I mean, players are on a hill, it looks like, but the elevation isn't actually that significant. So yeah, players are going to have to pick a place to settle, and it looks like Red is going to settle right about here. But before I get too much into this game, let's introduce the players. So you have Rancor playing as the Red Indians, Rabbit Tortoise playing as the Green Franks, Sap Chicken playing as the Yellow Ethiopians, Memoriam playing as the Teal Japanese, Telemachos playing as the Gray Teutons, and Lucas playing as the Orange Koreans. Now, one quick disclaimer before we get too into this. This is the spring. It's this wonderful season of the year where my very severe allergies and asthma ravage me relentlessly, so I'm extremely sick right now, but I'm going to do my best. Just keep that in mind. You might not see too many for a little bit. You might not see too many, like, incredibly heavily edited videos. And right off the bat, disaster. Absolute disaster. I'll be trying to keep the level of enthusiasm up, but, oh man, it is harsh. Well, what a great way to start off the game with an absolute disaster. Oh, this is a really bad dock. What can I say? This is your expert in-depth analysis right here. This dock is awful. Oh, man. Poor Sap Chicken has no idea what the map layout looks like. And, well, at least there are two shorefish here. But besides that, not too much. You know, if he docked a little bit, if he docked over here along the edge of the map, I think he would have been very happy about that because fishing ships gather food significantly slower from shorefish than they do from other fish. Still though, even though this dock could have been placed better, having like 4 nearby shorefish is decent. And he did build it right next to one of them, so the fishing ships won't have to go very far to drop it off. And there is some somewhat further away shorefish. So this dock isn't awful necessarily. It's just going to be a lot worse than if you put it along the edges of the map, which we see our friend Teal did over here, and a lot of the players I imagine will be docking along the edge. But this is just with MegaRandom, you never really know what the map layout is going to look like, and there are enough shorefish here that I think that he will be okay. Thank you, Kolalum. I appreciate it, Zetni. Thank you. Thank you, Thomas, as well. So yeah, this is not actually that bad. So the shorefish is still a source of food, and basically like having a dock in the early game is almost like having another town center, just as a means to strengthen your economy. And I like that this has a sort of nomad style to it, as Yellow and Gray are going to be a little bit closer to each other than they otherwise normally would be. Yellow putting down a couple of houses just for a little bit of map vision. He has discovered Gray's main gold is right here, or at least one of his gold mines. I guess everyone has like 2 of these. Players trying to gather deer early, which is a very good source of food in the early game. They can't actually lure it with their scout, otherwise I think they would be doing that. This town center placement, though, could have been a little bit better. Like, on one hand, he does protect his main gold mine, but in general, on a nomad-style map, you would want to put your town center directly adjacent to the forest. That way it protects the wood line, which is more valuable early game. And we can see here that his villagers have to spend so much more time walking. They have to walk like 4 or 5 tiles to the wood line, whereas if you built the town center like over here or over here, then those villagers, basically it adds up over time, essentially. And that's why I really like Red's town center placement in comparison. You know, he's sandwiched between 2 delicious wood lines. Sure, Sap Chicken's gold is safe, but I don't think that'll be good enough. This is very excellent mill placement here from Rancor. I think if he left a tile space between his mill and the forage bushes, it would be easier for his villagers. You know, that way they could just turn around and drop off the food rather than, you know, having to basically like walk around. So I think that would have been a little bit more efficient, but regardless, the fact that he has 3 deer next to these forage bushes makes this mill about twice as good as it otherwise normally would be, so I like that a lot. Double mill here for orange. Not exactly sure why he has both of these. I think one of them is for the deer and then one of them is for the berries, but that's a little bit excessive. I wonder if he built the mill first, as I think that's something that I've seen Lucas do before. I feel like he doesn't need both of these and that he only needed one, and this mill is especially redundant because, you know, his town center is right here, so it doesn't really help him that much. Welcome to the stream, Necrosaro and Lyriel Luna. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, Sep Chicken's a cool dude. Yeah, Lucas is not the biggest fan of Nomad-style maps, but regardless, life goes on, and he's got this in the bag. Now, see, here's the thing. This is what I call value town center placement from Memoriam. Because, like, on one hand... Oh my god, that is such an aggressive forward house. That's actually ridiculous. Belmachos could just kill it with his own town center if he wanted. But anyway, if you look at Teal's town center over here, not only does he protect his berries, but he protects the woodline and his main gold. I mean, one of the downsides, though, of putting your town center like this close to everything is that it's very difficult to saturate in farms, but regardless, it does protect a lot of his key resources. I like that players are spacing their houses out as just a way to get a little bit of map vision. So if you check out Memoriam's line of sight, he knows that units will be funneled over into his base. You know, they have to walk around these little puddles, so the odds of an enemy unit approaching him and having to walk in that one tile line of sight radius of this house is actually somewhat substantial, and he will be able to, as a result, see those rushes coming a little bit sooner, and he's positioned these houses in a way that, you know, he could very easily just build a wall and use those houses as part of that wall by filling the gaps with palisades, so I do like that a lot. Hello, Derpina, and Stolen Name and Peter Simp. Dark Mage asks, how's it going? Very not so good, but if there's one thing I like, it's casting competitive games, and Age of Empires particularly, so life goes on. Good news is that even though the spring is a miserable time for me, that the rest of the year is pretty good, so I count my blessings. I'm just happy to be here, even if I'm sick. Well, looks like a bunch of fishing ships being deployed here. Very good dock positioning from Rancor. It's much better in general, if possible, and this won't always be, to avoid placing your dock near the edge of the map. So if we go to Red's perspective here, you know where the edge of the map is without exploring it. Like, you can clearly see it on the mini-map. So building a dock here would be worse because there's just going to be less space for big fish. You want a larger body of water, that way it has a higher chance of having the, you know, deeper sea fish, as it's a much more efficient source of food, the fish tuna compared to the shore fish. So there's a much higher chance there's going to be more medium water if he docks away from the corner. So very good dock positioning here. But, you know, obviously for Teal, it would have been a very long walk for his villagers to have to get all the way over there, and I think he's still going to be happy with his dock placement. So people here are just going to be using the fish as a way to boom up. And God, I love this house placement. Like, this is... He's not going to be using this for a wall off. This is very, very aggressive, and I'm assured that the moment that Gray gets some military units, he is going to be removing that house quite quickly. First player to the feudal age is our friend Teal. I haven't really looked at Green's base that much. He's going to have to rebuild this lumber camp relatively quickly. He actually did not build his town center right next to the tree line, so he values being able to surround his town center in farms, which he's doing right now. One thing to note, and this doesn't make a huge difference. Welcome to stream, Saltirian. I haven't seen you in a while, friend. This is not that important, but every little bit matters in these higher rated games, especially at the expert level of Age of Empires 2, of which, by the way, I've got plenty of expert games, tutorials, and whatnot if you're interested, all on my YouTube page. I even have videos in the New African Kingdom civs. You actually, in general, you want to put your farms around the top right corner of the town center first before you surround the town center in it. And that's just because if we take a look at the way these villagers farm, they actually only hang out in the bottom left part of the farm, and they only walk over the top right corner of it to drop off food, but they don't actually harvest any food from there. So you actually spend a little bit less time walking if you build your farms along the top right edge of the town center before you do it over here. These would actually be the least efficient way to position your farms, obviously while still being adjacent to the town center. If you put your farms over here, that would be worse, guys. That would be substantially worse. Hello, Drakotha. Yes, it's also been a while. Welcome back. Welcome back. A lot of people are quoting the Reddit AMA where Bill Gates said he was going to deliver another Age of Empires, but no one read the other comment where he said that it would be extremely difficult for him to deliver that and not to take it seriously. Because he did post that in a comment that was underneath it, which I feel like no one read. I also don't think it's Bill Gates' decision, but we can all dream, friends. Welcome, Lion. And of course, everyone remembers the salty slug. Welcome. Lion says, how come you haven't done as much expert commentary lately? I've done more lately than I did over the last month. I've just been very sick, so I haven't been able to do too much recording. In the spring, it's like having the flu basically non-stop. So it's pretty hard to do too much recording. Well, either way, looks like friend Gray is going to be putting down a stable, so I wonder if he's going to fast castle age into knights. Yes, he's going to be fast castling. We know this by looking at the way his economy is distributed, so he's clearly trying to get that 800 food and 200 gold necessary to go to the castle age. This one stable, I like where it's positioned. He didn't put, like, he could have put the stable a little bit further forward, but then Yellow would have had that scouting information. But if he built it too close to that house, then Yellow would have seen it. I think since Yellow has so aggressive houses that he'll want to get Town Watch, and he did. He actually did just get the Town Watch upgrade, which is pretty sick. However, I don't know if Telemachos did this intentionally, but he built that stable at exactly the line of sight range for this house with Town Watch. That might just be experience really paying off here. If you built this one tile closer, then Sap Chicken would have seen it, but Sap Chicken is playing in the dark. Yellow has no idea what Gray's build is. I have no idea still a name. Iceman asks, do you think Bill Gates has ever played Aoe2? I'm sure he has, and I have no idea what his favorite Civ would be. Greetings to have it later. Welcome. Hello, Kaladata. Thank you, Leon. I would do more commentary with Zach, except Zach has retired from YouTube and Twitch a long time ago, so he doesn't really do much stuff anymore. Dingle Dude asked if I've tried immunotherapy. I tried it for 2 years. It ruined my life, and I could not get past the first dose. We had to cut it to like 1 in like 2,000 of the first dose. It could not get past the first standard dose for most people after 2 years. So it was like, yeah. Immunotherapy, medication, whatnot. My allergies are severe enough that it's just, there's not that much I can really do. I only bring it up for contextual purposes, so. Yeah, you don't need to, you need to suggest all sorts of fancy solutions. It's more just like a, you're wondering where the fancy, heavily edited videos are, and where some of the spunk is. It's all turned into mucus. That's gross. I think Arkari probably has more important things to do, but that would be very flattering. Alright, so it looks like, is this 3 stables from Gray? That can't be right. That's a lot. Meanwhile, by the way, Orange going for a very aggressive scout rush. Our good friend Teal. And this will be interesting to see how this plays out, because Teal's a very high score, even though it's actually ordered incorrectly. And he's in the castle age, and he's been booming very, very hard. Actually, Orange does not have a dock, which is probably why his score is so low. So basically, Orange is he's on a clock right now. He has to do as much damage as he can before Teal will be able to leverage the economic advantage that he gets from being the castle age, that tech advantage as well. Like, he'll be able to put down multiple town centers, he'll be able to train things like knights, and it looks like Teal's actually going to respond with mass spearmen. Which will be enough to zone off these Korean scouts, especially because they don't get bloodlines. I do like to see this archer range, though, from Orange, because he will want to transition to archers. That way he conserves his food and gets the castle age in a timely manner. Meanwhile, it looks like this is not a mistake, as Gray, will he be able to sustain knight production from all 3 stables? Alright, maybe it was a little ambitious, but, you know, Gray is responding correctly. He's like, how many gold miners do you need to sustain production from 3 stables? Well, this is probably enough. So... He's gonna build he has 3 mining camps on his main gold. It's ridiculous. I'm very allergic to dust, some flying burrito, so yeah, no, that wouldn't work. But yeah, this is that's a heavily saturated gold mine if I've ever seen one. Yellow, I think, is responding correctly by trying to make monks, as monks are a very strong counter to knights. Pikemen actually not excellent versus knights because you have to research the pikeman upgrade first. Knights are good from the get-go, monks are good from the get-go. But the pikeman upgrade is expensive, it just takes time, and pikemen are something that you outvalue your opponent with over time. You're going to need to have them outnumbered, and then you have to spend money on the upgrade first in time, so your chances are you're not going to have them outnumbered. So it's not going to be an effective counter. So I do like this idea of camels and monks. However, it's just a little bit too slow from Yellow, as Gray just tearing him apart. This actually might turn out to be a pretty pretty stompy game. I'm only gonna post it anyway, just because you guys have been asking me for more content, whether or not the matches are super duper close. So as long as you guys show your support, leave a thumbs up and a comment. I will be happy to post these. Meanwhile, Red, I don't know exactly why he's making a substantial feudal age army despite being in the pocket position. You'd think he would be probably in the castle age by now, as he should be aware that he is in the pocket if he was communicating with his team and or scouting, as he should not be the last player to the feudal age in theory. Meanwhile, it looks like Gray, he's just all in here, trying his best to sustain knight production from all three stables, and it actually looks like he is able to do so. And the reason I attribute to that is he actually has 2 docks and a ridiculous amount of fishing ships. If we check this out, he has 21 active fishing ships right now. That's why he was able to task so many villagers onto gold. So Gray doing an excellent job managing his economy. So even though that I don't think this match will be that close, hopefully you enjoyed the commentary and you find this useful in some way. It's helping your level of play. Because I think Gray is being very aggressive here, but just in a very well-executed manner. So I like to see this. Meanwhile, Red doing a little bit of flushing. Looks like he actually killed a fishing ship with some archers, so it's a little bit of economic damage, but not enough. Meanwhile, Green just content to boom up, and well, normally I would recommend going for knights or something like that if you're in the pocket position, yeah, because they're mobile enough to really help your team. I guess he's got 1 stable. He doesn't really need to go for more than 1 stable, so I actually do like the decision to boom. Just because his teammates are so far ahead, he might as well just try and take that inch and make a mile out of it. Nathan P says, but remember, Ethiopians get pikes for free. Is he Ethiopians? He is. Touche. He is. That's Tatsus getting air purifier. Again, I don't need all the suggestions, guys. I appreciate it. I have several air purifiers. These are things I've obviously thought of. But I do appreciate it. I do appreciate it. I just don't want to spend the entire stream answering medical questions, as people here are generally interested in hearing more about the Age of Empires stuff. So yeah, he could be making Ethiopian pikemen, that's true. Except he barely has an economy really to sustain that. Meanwhile, Red is finally here to back him up. Very slow castle time. Should probably like move out the rest of his guys if he can. I don't really like this pocket unit choice that much, because I can't help but feel that these units are too slow, and these are the type of things you would want to be making if you're on the flank. Whereas if you're in the pocket, they're just too slow. That's usually why we see knights, is just something that's good from the get-go. Very strong against feudal age units, of which, you know, the opposing flanks, the flank position being adjacent to an enemy. Flank players are probably going to have to rush or defend against a rush, so they're going to be slow to the castle age, therefore they're going to have a lot harder time dealing with knights. There's another reason why they're so good. Mobility. Crossman Spearman combo, not really doing it for me. I don't think this is really honestly that helpful, especially because he's Indians, and camels would be so strong against the ridiculous knight spam here from Gray. Gray is just, he has a huge economy, and also part of this is due to the Teutons cheaper farms, which I do think is making a difference. A lot of fishing ships here. I think it's a reasonable sized blunder for Orange not to dock. It's not safe anymore, as I think Teal has. Well, you know you're far ahead in the game when you can dock behind your opponent. As Teal does have a bunch of fire galleys, but I think docking early would have given him a little bit of a boost. I do like how aggressive he was playing though, trying to punish Teal, but I think he's far enough behind now that it might be too little too late. Red is in here, finally allowing Yellow to stabilize, but Yellow was crippled heavily by that rush, and I feel like he would have been okay if he got a little bit of backup from some Red Knights earlier on in the game. So I'm like, going to ask, what is your favorite movie? It's a really tricky question. There are a lot of movies I like. Terminator 2, Black Dynamite, The Emperor's New Groove, etc. There are plenty of movies. Thank you, Necro's Sorrow. So anyway, it's a lot of knights here from Gray. Meanwhile, Red, I think, moving a little bit too far forward here. I don't think Yellow is safe enough yet that it's time to push out. I wonder if Yellow sees this because he has Town Watch. He might not. I think these guys should probably be keeping their units on the defensive, as they know that Gray has such a massive score lead. He has 3 stables. These are all things we've probably assumed by now. These enough knights that you can't actually... You're not in a position anymore where you're able to push out, because he's enough knights you can actually just kill a town center after you garrison all the villagers in there. Alright, see ya, Tolstoy. Sultan asks what is the best counter to conquistadors. Things like mangonels and crossbowmen are pretty good. And if you have enough knights, you're not like horribly outnumbered, you can do it. A combination of like knights and mangonels is good too. But yeah, Gray has enough knights that he'll be able to just kill these town centers. So you have to leave something on the defense. You either have to have a castle here, or you have to, leave some military units back. Because I feel like these guys are just trying to like suicide units into, Gray's town center. Like they know he has a town center right here, so they're not really going to be able to do too much. And I feel like raiding with spearmen is almost certainly a waste, and he could have at least left the spearmen back rather than sent his crossbowmen forward. So I feel like raiding with the Spearman just doesn't accomplish too much. Meanwhile, yeah, I think Yellow will lose one town center. If he was the Malians and he had the Tigui upgrade and a castle, then I think he would be a little bit better off. But in this case, I think he's just going to end up losing this town center, which is going to be a huge blow to his economy. It might end up just losing him the game entirely. Meanwhile, Orange trying his best to defend, but it looks like he's just getting ganged up on by 2 players here. As Red, again, he doesn't have enough army to really defend Yellow on one side, and he's not really able to help Orange on the other. So it looks like this game is going to be over relatively soon. Forward Spearman here will be able to protect the crossmen, so it's one thing that they do. Hopefully he can do enough economic damage here, but I really doubt that it was worth it in this case. I wonder if Yellow will lose this town center too. He's basically dead at this point. He's losing so much population. If we check him out, he's at 49 compared to like 120. Meanwhile, there's no way Orange can take on both players at once, so I think these guys are just getting brutally owned this game. Like, there's so little map control that Teal actually has docks on his opponent's map. It's pretty good. Regardless, I think raiding a Spearman is good if you expect to defend them with Knights. I just explained this as this idea that this is what happens when you move forward, Porglet. This is what happens when you move forward. So I hope this makes sense as to why that was an awful idea. Because Yellow didn't need to lose these town centers if there was any sort of defense here. And this raiding force was incredibly weak. There's only like 4 Spearmen and like 4 Crossbowmen. Those would have been much better on the defensive as just a way so that the Yellow town centers would have more time to do damage. That would have been really helpful, but it looks like they're already going to call it game. I do believe that this game is over, so it was a very fast one. But hopefully it shows you guys, even though this game wasn't close, it was educational in some way, and it shows a lot of, I guess, tactical blunders that you can avoid in your own game to prevent yourself from getting stomped. As it is possible to avoid a situation like this, I think this game snowballed out of control, and it didn't necessarily need to. You know, there were a lot of reasons behind this. I think the lack of a dock early on was a little bit unfortunate. Complete lack of pocket support. The camels are coming out right now, but I think that you can always ask your teammates if you're not sure where you're positioned, but this is something that you should realize relatively early on, that red was indeed the pocket, so the Spearman plus Crossman combo just feels like a waste to me. If those were camels, I think he would have been in an excellent shape. Their decision to move out here caused Yellow to lose basically his entire base. I think that Gray also just played really, really well here. I think all these players did with such a strong fish boom. Actually recognizing that there was so much fish and he had 2 docks and he had so many fishing ships. He had like 21 that he was actually able to sustain from 3 stables. I think a lot of players would have built 2 stables there because it was just more, it's just something that's standard. And since he had such a strong fish boom that he could actually sustain from 3 stables and really snowball the game out of control. If he went on 2 stables, that might have given Yellow enough time to react. And I think that Yellow did respond appropriately with things like camels, with monks. He just wasn't able to get them out in time because Gray overwhelmed them so quickly, and I think the reason why is that Gray was able to recognize that he was able to sustain production from 3 stables. I like Green's decision here to go for a 1-stable knight play early on in the game just because he knows that both of his flanks are winning so hard that he might as well build a huge economic lead. That way he guarantees that should the game drag on, he's going to be so far ahead that it's going to, like, they have no way of actually coming back in this game. So yeah, I liked Orange's decision to go a little bit aggressively here as well. So yeah, this is an interesting game. I'm not exactly sure why these guys aren't resigning, but I feel like I don't need to necessarily sit here as they slowly die. It's not like Rancor is going to randomly win this game, so I don't know why they're stalling. We can probably just move on to the next game, as I hope you guys enjoyed this one. You found it interesting in some way. Like I said, even though it's a stomp, nothing I can do about that, but you guys just tell me you want me to post the stuff anyway. And I think there was a lot to be learned from this game as to why it was a stomp. Because I didn't think it needed to be. I thought the ratings were at least pretty balanced here. And just overall, it was a result of some misplays and some very good plays on top of that, a combination of them. As we can see here, Yellow's military population very, very low, as he just kind of got caught off guard, as Gray was just there to play faster. Also, you have very slow castle time from Red as well. Really, really snowballed that game. I think Orange got scale barding armor on his scouts earlier. That might have slowed down his castle time. I don't know if he wasn't going to commit as hard to those scouts, maybe he didn't need that. It's difficult to say. At the very least, since he had scale barding armor, maybe it was enough to force Teal to build 2 barracks. So maybe it was worthwhile and it did enough damage to Teal as a sort of meaningful trade-off there. So maybe that was worth it. Difficult to say. Either way, Teal was just very quick to advance, so I think that made him substantially harder to punish as a result. And we check out the villager pop. I think it's understandable that Orange and Yellow had such small amount of villagers. Maybe they could have had a little bit more, but obviously Yellow lost all of his TCs. Maybe we could have seen an additional TC earlier from Orange. Difficult to say. Difficult to say. I would wager that game, a lot of it, things like the town center placement early on, I think that slowed down Yellow just a bit. The fact that his villagers had to walk, a couple of extra tiles. It's just like lots of like little things that if they were improved, I think they built up over time throughout the game, and then it just snowballed out of control. But it was like an incremental thing. The fact that Yellow's lumberjacks were gathering wood so much slower because they had to spend time walking several tiles, when if you built that town center slightly differently, then it would have been a little bit different. Perhaps Yellow's dock was also a reason that he was just a little bit slower than Gray. But regardless, I mean, you say that, but all their castle ages were actually in sync, so he was almost able to defend. I think he reacted appropriately, but Gray just had, he could go for a bigger fish boom because he actually had his docks along the edges of the map. And then he was just able to overwhelm him with a 3 stable night play. So yeah, GG, well played. As always, guys, let me know if you enjoyed this. If you did, feel free to leave a comment. I do read them all, even though I don't get a chance to respond to them individually. As well as leave a thumbs up rating, maybe share it around. Plenty of other AoE videos on my YouTube channel, as well as videos for other games. So if you like this, you'll probably like those as well. I'll have all that juicy stuff in the video description. In addition to Age of Empires content, I will be trying to do content for other games on the side. That way, I'm able to consistently do Age of Empires content, as there's a finite cap for how big AoE stuff can get. So extra content stuff is necessary, so I appreciate those of you who take the time to support that and not fight it, as that means more Age of Empires videos. So anyway, we'll be right back after the break. Hopefully get some closer matches for you guys. So thank you for watching so far. Stay tuned, and we'll be back in just 2 minutes for the next match of the stream. GG, well played. See you, Waymender.